Hits the pound.
Yeah, this is how we do it in the Central Colors, man. We got 40 ounces, Old English, rag tops, 6'4" Impalas, and bikini girls, man. This is how we do it on the West Coast. San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles. But don't forget about the Central Cali, man. Please don't forget about the Central Cali. Yeah, get 'em.
It's another sunny day in the state of California. Low rider palm trees and G's that put it on ya. This ain't a negative, we speaking ebonics. Rag talk, candy paint on D's with hydraulics. Baseball hat with the sticker on the brim. But let the sun blind your sight, cause things can get grim. But I'm not here to talk about banana clips and guns. We're going back to Cali and we're gonna have some fun. A West Coast domination.
And welcome back to Two-Face Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Fred Segura, out here in Marvin County, also known to the world as the Salad Bowl, also known as the Salinas Valley. To the people in LA, we are north. To the people in San Francisco, we are south. Right smack in the middle, best of both worlds. Don't forget about the Central Cali. Anyway, folks, today we are going to talk about the classic, the rock band, 60s rock band, The Doors. Jim Morrison, Ray Manzarek, Robert Krieger, and John Densmore. Right? But without further ado, we do have a special guest this time around, our first special guest on Two-Face Entertainment Podcast, Eddie Vega.
How's it going?
Cool. So, anyway, guys, so we're going to talk about, excuse me, guys, we're just going to do that. Instead of editing, we're just going to live like this. But anyhow, guys, so we just want to talk about the Doors and, you know what I mean, how influential they've been on a lot of stuff, how it's gone through generation after generations of, of just inspiring different people throughout the world and stuff. So anyhow, the way I got into it was I was at school and there was a magazine, kind of like just a book, and it said classic rock or something to that effect. I forgot what it was called. There was two of them. There was a rock one and I forgot what other one it was. But anyhow, when I opened it up, it intrigued me because I saw the one of Jim Morrison, and it said, it was just like a little brief bio, and then they explained what he did, how he was a poet, and then they explained how he died, and that he had died in Paris and in the bathtub, and a slight smile on his face, and yada yada yada. Right. So I was like, all right, cool. What happened after that was, I think I was watching HBO and they were talking about rock musicians that had passed, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and so on and so forth. Well, Jim Morrison was one of those, and again, they brought it up, right? So I was intrigued as to know, okay, who is this guy, and then, so one day I was at, my mom and I, God rest her soul, we went to the pharmacy, and they used to sell albums there. And I asked my mom to give me the album. There was the album Alive She Cried. And I didn't know any song other than Light My Fire. That I had just heard a little piece of it, and I just wanted to know more about it. So I got it, and I was at first I was kind of, I don't know about this, you know what I mean? But then I got into it, you know what I mean? And I got into it, I started learning more. And we'll go on with that. But Eddie, I'll give you the stage, man. How'd you get influenced by the Doors?
The Doors, well, they're from Venice, California. I think I started listening to them. Well, when I first saw the movie, actually you showed me on VHS, and it was pre-recorded.
What is that, VHS?
VHS, it's one of those big cassette tapes you put into the TVs, and it does that little scribble thing, and then it shows and
the tracking. No, but anyhow, go ahead.
I remember you showed me the movie. And back then, of course, it would be on TV, and, you would have to put the VHS and record it. And that's how I saw the movie. That's when, you showed me the movie in 1991, I believe. Was it 1991 when it came out?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
With director Oliver Stone. That's how I knew about the Doors. Of course, I was 2, 3, I'll say about 4 years old. Didn't really understand what was.
Yeah, I probably should have been showing you that to begin with, you know. But we always had a, you know, I deal with my kids too. We, you know, it's been like dad's always home, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, whatever.
and of course, I didn't really fully understand the movie because, like I said, I was real small. But then I started listening to the records, to the music, the first album, the Doors title album,
Self-titled, yeah.
and started listening to that, and then just kept going, you know, going through my teen years, and listening to more records. Just got really intrigued by it because you know, they're from Los Angeles, and probably one of the most successful bands. Of course, their short period of time was ended in 71, but
Yeah.
from 67 to 71. So it was a short period of time, but their music was very intriguing. It was very, you know, it helped me a lot in my teen years. You know, it just, you know, it was like medicine. It was like medicine, and the stuff they were saying about the war and just speaking life, you know, peace and love. And, you know, of course they had a few songs that were a little, you know, but overall, psychedelic songs and stuff like that. But overall, you know, their music, you know, I mean, I have it tattooed on my leg, so that was one of the first tattoos I got, and I put that band number one, and then of course second, Pink Floyd. So, but yeah, their music is very, it you know, it moves me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my own personal, you know, towards the music, you know, that music is something, man. It's something. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think, you know what, when the movie came out, I remember hearing about it like years before it even came out. I think they were shooting it, and I used to listen to it was syndicated, syndicated. I think from out of Los Angeles. I used to listen to Mark and Brian in the late '90s. Early '90s. Early '90s, and they whatchamacallit, they mentioned, you know, at the time the internet was just starting to, you know, kind of like, you know, only certain people had it, you know, it wasn't a big thing. But I remember they said, oh, you know, Val Kilmer's playing Jim Morrison, and I was like, I remember thinking, like, Val Kilmer? Like, what the heck? Like, and I didn't even think Top Gun. I didn't think Iceman. The first thing that came to my mind was, he came out in Top Secret. He looks nothing like Jim Morrison. Like, what the hell? Like, but I remember they were talking about him. They're like, man, he looks just like Jim Morrison. I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this. You know, I kind of had doubt, but I really was intrigued to want to go see this. So when the movie finally came out, I saw the trailer and I was like, oh my God, like just the cadence, the you know, the swag, I guess, if you will, when he's walking down the hall or whatever. I was like, wow, dude. Like, I was just, you know, I was really, really, really wanted to see this movie. So I was dating this one girl at the time, and we went to go see it. And halfway through the movie, she was like, not even halfway. I think it got to the part where they were at the London Fog or whatever. He was doing the Crystal Ship part, the Crystal Ship. Okay. He was singing the song there, and she was like, you know what, let's get out of here, let's leave. And I was like, oh, man, you know, like, man, like, for real, you know, come on, like, you know what I mean? But I was like, all right, well, you know. So we walked out of the movie, and I was like, man. Next day, I woke up in the morning. I called a good friend of mine. Shout out to Arrowhead, man. Yeah, I know you're out there in Texas, brother. I called him up. I said, hey, bro, what you doing? He goes, nothing. I go, what do you have planned for today? He goes, nothing. Hey, you want to go see the Doors, bro? He's all, yeah, bro. And he always rode me. He was my road dog, you know. So I got up. I took a shower, man. He lived just down the street. Got in the car. We went. I went to go see it tonight. I really wanted to see this movie. I think I must have seen it about 6 or 7 times with some of the other club members from Nutrient and Tacos Finest. We went out there to do the movies. I think they stopped playing in the Salinas, and we went all the way to Monterey to go see that movie at the theater. So when it came on VHS, I got it right away. I'm being a movie collector. I got it right away. So yeah, man. So I mean, from there it's just been a thing, man. And I understand I understand, like, well, we'll get into that later. there's a lot of people that are against it because they said that wasn't Jim Morrison, that wasn't told right, whatever. But you know what? To me, and I'm going to jump into a different genre, different subject in a sense. It's almost, like the All Eyes on Me movie, the Tupac movie.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not going to be the greatest. It's not going to be to the T. But it's going to be the closest we can get for now.
Yeah.
Unless somebody comes along and does something right, which to me, those two people are American icons, and they're very hard to kind of pinpoint to get the exact story that it's supposed to be. So I think I'm just happy with what we got, at the end of the day. I know parts were taken from a book called No One Here Gets Out Alive, and then I think the John Densmore book too, Riders on the Storm.
Riders on the Storm, yeah.
So I mean that's about that's about as close as they can get.
Yeah.
Speaking of, in which, like we were talking about, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. For the movie, it's crazy because we know music and movies and the trivia and the back behind the scenes. They said that when I think you told me that when Val Kilmer, I guess Oliver Stone, the one that did
Born on 4th of July.
Born on 4th of July.
Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers. He screenplayed for Scarface.
Oh yeah.
And Francis Ford Coppola directed the movie, right?
No, Brian De Palma.
Brian De Palma. Yeah. They said that I guess Val Kilmer was 34 years old.
Oh yeah.
When he auditioned for that movie, and I guess people said he was too old for the role, and
because Jim Morrison was like in his late 20s.
Late 20s, and
he died at 27.
27, yeah.
Yeah.
And they said that he was too old for the film, and he looked nothing like him. And then, like he said, when they shot the photos and when they did the iconic picture with his hands out, even I guess Oliver Stone was like, man, like that's Jim. Like, I guess of course when they're filming, they forget that that's Val Kilmer. So. Yeah. Of course
he
now
he made you forget he was Val Kilmer. That's for real. That's for real, I think.
And especially the Miami scene where he's in a concert in Miami. Like if you see pictures on Google of Jim Morrison in Miami, and you see the pictures or you see the movie, the Oliver Stone film, you can't, you totally forget it's Val Kilmer. So, of course, he should have got nominated. Val Kilmer should have got nominated for that role along with Tombstone.
Yeah. I think to this day, there's a lot of people now on the internet saying that he should have gotten something for the role of Jim Morrison. Man, we're getting some bad lighting this time of the year. I should have parked different, but hey, guys, we're gonna keep rolling. Well, no, yeah, he's right. I mean, and you know what? The other thing too about it that a lot of people don't know, and if you're a fan, then but and you're into that as deep as we get into stuff. But in case you don't know, the other talent Val Kilmer has. Is that he can sing.
Oh, yeah.
So he went in and paid, I believe he paid with his own money for a recording session, and he recorded the Doors songs and played them for the Doors the members that were alive, and they couldn't tell the difference whether it was him or Jim Morrison, and that's how he ended up getting the role. I remember one time when the movie came out, I said, hey, man, I told somebody that, and they were kind of, whatever. Like, yeah, you're too much into that, bro. Like, let it go. That's just a movie, whatever. But I've always been very passionate about movies and music and stuff like that, which is as well as Eddie, too. Because at the end of the day, guys, in case some of y'all didn't know, he is my nephew. I did raise him from a baby, you know what I mean? So what Fred did, he was around to see it, whether it be rock music, any kind of genre, rap music, lowriders, and stuff like that. Anyhow, so yeah, man. I mean, I think that's an interesting thing. Now, what you want to add something? I'm going to get into.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I was going to mention. So one day I'm at work, and I don't really listen to a lot of just the radio period to listen to music. I stopped doing that years ago, a long time ago. And I listen more to talk radio, which, you know, it could bore people, but for me, I like to be really informative about stuff. So there was a station out of Santa Cruz. And I'm sitting there, and I'm at work, and I had my headphones on, and I'm listening to the radio. And then they said, "Hey, Ray Manzarek is going to come to Santa Cruz, you know, to show his film Lover Madly, an independent film he made." And we're like, "What the heck?" Like, I was like, "Oh shoot! Like, what the heck? Like, for real?" You know, and I paid close attention. So it was an ad that they kept bringing up, and they kept bringing it up every day that I was at work. So I remember at the time you were like, how old
I was in Main Street. I think I was 15, 14 at the time.
14, yeah, 15.
I was,
yeah,
I think
14,
I was in
15.
7th grade. Yeah,
And I didn't tell him. So I purchased the tickets. I think we had to go to the box office, no?
Yeah, we had to go to the
time.
box, yeah.
So he was at the Rio Theater in Santa Cruz, California. So that's over here in Central California, you know, going out toward the west, you know. I remember that day. I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday or something.
It was
like
a
that.
Sunday.
Was it a Sunday?
Yeah, it was a Sunday.
Oh, wow.
I was
that
upset
one.
that day. I was like, oh, man. Towards the end, of course, the story of the end.
Yeah. So what happened was I told him, hey, you know, let's go. And do you remember what time of the year it was? Was it around? Was it in the summertime?
No, it was in February, I think.
Was it February?
I think so. I think it was February, March.
I remember I said, or maybe it was just a thing that I have in my mind that I said I was going to give you something. I was going to give you a gift or something like that. And we ended up going. And I remember we stopped in Salinas to put gas, and he kept asking me, like, where are we going? And I said, don't worry about it, bro. We're going to go to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz? What's in Santa Cruz? Like, don't trip. We got over there. We got to the theater, parked, and I went and got the tickets. So we're waiting outside, and then there's people, you know, outside. Oh, I told him, wear your Doors shirt.
Yeah.
And he had one where you could tell him
Jim Morrison's passed out on stage, and he has a microphone like that, and everyone's trying to rush him, and it had "People Are Strange" lyrics in the back of the shirt, and it was clean shirt, man.
So we were waiting outside, and then finally we got in, and when we got in, we're sitting down and stuff like that, and we're looking around. They had like a little setup for the band, you know, for a band and stuff. They were going to jam out, and then so out from the middle of the aisle comes Ray Manzarek, and we're like, oh wow, dude! Like, you know, this time he kind of had a short hair, flat top. You know, it was just kind of like, oh wow, you know. But this is him, dude. Like, even at an older age, it's like, oh wow, you know, that's him, you know. And he was like, I remember, and I'll let you say your part, because I this is what I remember was, he said, man, they wouldn't let me play this in L.A. They wouldn't let me play this movie, you know, whatever, in Venice or whatever. He goes, but you know what? Right here in Santa Cruz, California, everybody was applauding. You know, and there was a bunch of, I think we were like the youngest people in the crowd, because everybody was like up there in age,
50s,
like
60s, 70s.
Like former hippies, and some of them were still like hippie-like, you know what I mean? 70s, kind of like 60s, 70s hippie-like people, you know? So, I mean, I don't know, anything you remember about that, though?
Yeah, when we got there, I remember, I think we were like the first three in line. And of course, the Rio Theater was, you know, it's right off one of the main streets in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and it's a regular theater, movie theater.
Yeah,
it's like an old movie theater. Like,
just a regular theater, but it's very iconic, I guess, to some that, you know, former musicians go and they do performances there. They do a bunch of stuff, but the Rio Theater and also Streetlight Records also in Santa Cruz too, or the right there in downtown where they have all the vinyl records.
Yeah, right there by the Pizza My Heart and all
that. Right there in that area. I remember we were in line, and you're talking like 60, 70-year-olds, white beards, like straight 60s hippies, because, you know, Santa Cruz and San Francisco, you know, you still got those people that are still stuck in the 60s.
From Hayden Ashbury.
Yeah, and they're looking like Rick Rubin, and they're just, you know, they're just all just there with their old shirts, old posters, vinyl records. And of course, you know, I had my Doors shirt. You know, I had the, I don't know if you guys remember, I'm pretty sure you guys remember the Hot Topic with the wallets, with the bead ball chains, and you would match them onto your belt strip or whatever, and it had the Doors wallet. And this lady, she had a video camera, and she was like recording people and saying stuff about the Doors and how they started listening to it. And I remember she pointed to me and she's like, hey, she goes, you're awfully young. She goes, how old are you? And I said, like 14. She goes, wow. She goes, at your age, like, it's very rare that someone listens to the Doors. And especially, the music at the time, what they were saying. And
so at that point, I grabbed me by the face and I was like, excuse me. No, I'm not kidding. I'm kidding. No,
like Biggie Smalls, I would just reach over.
I'm kidding.
But and she was like, that's exciting to see at your age. And I was like, yeah. And it was just quick and in and out. So we got in and like he was saying, we're sitting in the theater and it was real dark and then all you hear applauding and he was walking by and of course he showed us the movie and we're like of course they had to block out the first 3 rows because they don't want nobody to bombard them and all that. So we watched the movie and then it was over and they said, oh, we're gonna do autographs and stuff like that. And of course everyone was barging up.
Yeah.
Everyone was like piling up. They had posters, long posters of Waiting for the Sun and like they were just like a time capsule. They just had everything. And I remember we were like towards the middle and I don't know if you remember, but the lady that had the video camera, she goes, you two, she goes, you guys need to come to the front of the of the line.
Yeah, because we're like we're the
youngest, and of course I was baby face.
Yeah,
and she goes, you two need to come to the front of the line. She goes, I'm taking you straight to Ray Manzarek, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So she brought us to the front, like right in front, and he was sitting there. Of course, you guys seen the picture on Instagram.
Yeah. And it's at the beginning of these podcasts.
Yeah.
It's at the beginning of the podcast. So we'll put them again at the end.
And so she brought him up, and I remember the exact words she said. She goes, look, Ray, she goes, this kid is only 14 years old, and this is his uncle. And right away, he shook my hand, firm, for his age and all the stuff that they take. He had a firm handshake. He goes, hey, man, he goes, Jim would be proud.
Yeah.
Jim would be proud. Stay in school, don't do drugs. He smirked. Of course, he's older, he's not gonna, tell a 15-year-old, to try LSD or anything.
He said, read the books Jim read, and stuff.
Yeah, he said, read the books that Jim read, his poetry, and seeing you, Jim would be proud. And at that time, I was like I said, I was 14, 15, so it didn't really like stick in until now I'm in my 30s, where it's like, wow, like. This is the only organist player to play 2 keyboards in 2 different motions.
In his the way he spoke, right?
Yeah.
He was kind of like yeah, man, like he was still like a hippie. He's like, it was like, wow, dude, it was crazy. It was a trip.
Yeah, and he was like, he said, he's like, Jim would be proud, and it was just amazing. I'm like, just. From him listening to a radio station, AM 1080, was it?
Yeah, AM 1080. Shout out to him. They're not around no more. They are, but it's not the same people no more. But yeah, shout out to AM 1080. Yeah, good call. I forgot about that. I'm getting older.
The memory, man, I tell you. And just listening to the radio station is just boom. And I remember, of course, we saw the movie, and it was real hippie-ish.
Yeah.
I don't remember it much, but it was real hippie-ish, and he played a couple of solos.
Yeah.
Light My Fire, Riders on the Storm.
Yeah.
Break On Through. I was like, man, and still
it was just surreal seeing a legend like that. For me, it was the second time seeing somebody of that legendary stature.
Yeah.
The first time I had met, going again off topic and off genre, I had met Eazy-E. So seeing Ray Manzarek, and I'd seen a lot of people throughout my years, but when I saw Ray Manzarek, it was a complete different thing. You know what I mean? It was surreal. And it was surreal how he embraced us and was talking to us.
Yep.
And I remember when they said, hey, I said, can you take a picture? And it was one of those ones you buy, like, the Kodak, you just, the ones you bought at the store, you had to take it to get developed. And I remember I gave the lady the camera. I think it was his wife, right, or somebody had it.
Yeah, I think it was a fan. I think it was someone behind us or something. I don't think it was a lady. I think it was just someone waiting, and
but I remember I was like, I gave him the camera, and I remember I went like this, by him, and Bernie looked up like real quick, and then boom, and I was like, whoa, that's it? Like that? Oh yeah, that's it, because we had to leave room for everybody else to come along. I was like, man, I hope the picture came out, because I thought I was gonna come out like all like, like looking,
looking
like,
all different ways.
Yeah, and it came out cool, which thankfully it did.
And it was a 1 second, like, okay, I was like, and flash and everything, and we're like,
I was like, well, that's it.
Oh
That's it.
man, like,
they didn't give us time.
Once in a lifetime, like you're looking all ice crooked and everything. I'm like, oh, but it came out cool for just that 1 second, because it was a bunch of people.
But it's a trip though, because you see the pictures, but then we got to really talk to him. Like it was really like he took a little more time with us, like because he was like really like, wow, this is cool, I mean.
Yeah, so we took the picture, and then this was already towards the end of the, they showed the movie. We took the pictures and everything, and then I guess he had said that they were gonna have some drinks and some special guests for performances. And unfortunately it was on a Sunday night, so I had to go to school on Monday, so I wasn't able to see who it was, and
I had to go to work. And
so it was pretty cool. It was an awesome time. Like I said, I was 15, so I didn't really kind of grasp it until later. It was like, man, like, we got to see one of the best bands in American history, because of course all the rock bands are from from the UK, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Led Zeppelin and all that, but
Pink Floyd,
but of course there's the Beach Boys and all that, but for the Doors,
well, who cares?
No,
I'm kidding.
But but for the
They're all
Doors,
legendary.
they're all legendary. But for the Doors, coming out of just from Venice, a little area where it's just beach and all that, and it's amazing, man. It's amazing how like I said, just listening to a radio station,
AM radio station at that,
AM, not FM, AM, like where no one just passes like, I don't listen to AM, it's FM, But
and you know what's funny, dude? Like right now, when you were saying that, what really crossed my mind was that, when you were saying, mentioning all these bands and stuff, and that's cool. I know they've done a couple of them from some of the bands and stuff. But I always think back to where, and I've said it on this channel before, where you had Jim Morrison said something, and I always butcher this. Was your life that great? Where they had to, they had to base a movie on it. You know what I mean? I forgot. I don't know if you know the quote of that, but they were so big, they made a movie about them. So I know they made a movie about the Beach Boys. They, it's obviously straight out of Compton. So, but yeah, to me, legendary icon. Yeah. Band members. And I remember telling you when we were there, and you finally, I finally told you we're gonna go in to see Ray Manzarek. I go, this is the closest we're gonna get to Jim Morrison in this lifetime.
Oh yeah.
This is it. Like, this is a thing. Now I'm also wondering, when you were talking about the special guest, I hope it wasn't Robbie Krieger on there. Like, oh man, we missed out. No, but I think they would have mentioned it, bro. Like he wouldn't have,
But it was an awesome night, man. It was just like a time capsule in there, where it was just like I said, from all generations, from like I said, from me being the youngest, as my age, to the oldest, to 67 years old, still with their, like I said, with their shirts, and just like, you can tell like they actually were in those performances and actually saw them on stage, and and it's crazy because we got to see the Whiskey A Go Go. You took me.
Oh yeah.
You took me to go see the Whiskey A Go Go, and it was like on Sunset, and it's like, man, like crazy.
He was here.
He was right there, like where he went on his rant.
Yeah. We didn't go in. We took a picture outside of the Whiskey A Go Go.
Yeah, but
this is years ago after too.
But but that's the the beauty thing about music, and and even just, you know, what we do as musicians and artists, like somehow, some way, there's always a band or just anything. It just inspires, it just creates what we do. And I think that's why the Doors, for me, like I said, and you know, earlier, it just somehow, some way, it just grabs you, and it intrigues you, and it keeps you going. It opens your mind, and that's really what it is, without doing LSD and acid and all that, but just listening to the music. And a lot of people, you know, think he was Jim Morrison was a rock and roll. He was a poet. Yeah, he was a poet. His music was straight poet. But of course, you know, with the music industry and all that, it, you know, it takes control. And you know, it was from 67 to 71. It's like Tupac. You know, it was short. But for that amount of time that band had put for just 4, 5, 6 years, man, like it was a lot. It was a lot for 6 albums, you know, and a couple of live records. At the Hollywood Bowl in '68.
Hollywood Bowl.
And it's crazy that Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones was in the front row seat with Jim Morrison's girlfriend sitting on his lap. And and of course, you know, YouTube, they say all the comments and all that stuff. When you watch YouTube videos, you know, people put histories and all that. And I didn't know that Mick Jagger, of course, Rolling Stones at the time were, you know, taking off in the UK. He had Pamela Corson, Jim Morrison's girlfriend, sitting on Mick Jagger's lap while he's performing, and he's like looking, and it's just like, man, like just little things like that to know, and the history and the you know, behind the scenes. It's not just music, it's to know, you know, everything. And that's what's great about what we do is it's like I said, it's not just rap music, it's all genres. And you get inspired from other people and other bands. But you know, being the Doors is, you know, my all-time favorite band.
And I remember telling him, because he had got all the albums, the CDs at the time. Then my aunt Carmen, God rest her soul, she bought him a box with all the albums in there, and I'm like, dude.
It was $100 at warehouse.
And
at the warehouse.
It's like, dude, wait, you bought the albums again, dog. You know, and he bought the LPs. It's like, you know, the vinyls. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, like,
man,
how many times you gonna buy these albums, bro? Like,
man, I so they have the 33s and a half LPs, which is, you know, the very thin ones. So I believe in 2011, 2012, they came out with the Doors Infinite, which they're the 45 LP, the heavy records, which is one album. It's 4 LPs. It's you know, 2. And I at the time I was living here because I live in New Mexico, Las Cruces. So I was here, and of course COVID time, you know, everyone was getting good unemployment money because COVID had laid off a lot of people. So I ran across this box set, and of course I was paying my bills and confession. But it shows the person I am that's so intrigued with this band. So they had an LP, and I believe in 2011, 2012 they only came out with 1,000 LP records, and now they're out of print. I have the 45th copy, and it cost me about $650, brand spanking new, shrink wrapped and everything, from the actual studio Elektra Records.
Disclaimer: I didn't know what it.
I told him after.
Yeah.
But it was like maybe one copy, and some of the copies that people were selling were over $1,000 because they're out of print. I mean, you could buy a Doors record anywhere, Best Buy, Walmart, but you know, the 45 records, which they're really heavy. So they play like you're playing a CD or on something, you know, on a Bluetooth record or something. So I bought it for like $650, and of course I didn't tell my wife, but I bought it, and I don't even play them. I play them maybe once, maybe when the first record comes out. I play them one time. I stuff them in my little cabinets, and they stay there.
But it's good to have. You can able to put them out, pull them out and stuff. But you know what? Just to avoid you from drama, dude. Like now that she'll probably know. Like we can live them in my house. It'll be like it's both of ours, but we just keep them in my house.
Those I've already said if God willing, if I don't pass, but those are going with me. Those are dude. No one's gonna take them. They're gonna stay with me. So
well, just like my movie, so you might as well make a Blu-ray.
Yeah, the
casket right.
Casket. We'll just throw all the movies in there. We won't even see them in there. We'll just close it. It won't even close because of all the movies are.
This is too heavy, bro. He was that big. No, actually, it's the movies.
It's the Blu-rays.
No, but you know what, man? It's a trip, man. It's a trip how that works. Being a fan of something like that. How intriguing it is to want to have the stuff, and being that was before our time.
Yeah. So
we didn't get to experience that, and we learned it later on. Like I said early on, like learning it from a book, that they were given away at school, and I just happened to pick it up and reading through it. I was like, what the heck, like. And he died, right, and it said of heart failure. Jim Morrison died of heart failure, and he died in the bathtub. And I was like, what the heck, like, what the heck, like, what happened, And that was always really intriguing to see. So, one of the things I will say that when I went to go see the movie, that's one of the things that was really fascinating to me was like, wow, they actually showed this, like him in the tub, and like, wow, like, and there's, we can get into it and go longer. There's a lot of speculation as to what and how he died and what really happened. There's stories that he actually overdosed and they put him in the tub to kind of bring him back, but he pretty much had gone, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff, being that there was no forensics at the time. There's no proof.
Yeah.
So, but I remember Ray Manzarek mentioning that they never saw a body.
Nope.
They just saw the casket, a gold casket being put into the ground, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they so.
And also too, they said that when they said the only people that knew was the Doors manager, and his girlfriend Pamela.
Yeah.
They said they're the only ones that saw the body. I don't even think Paris, France PD or anything. I think they saw that there was a call that said that someone was not breathing or something, but they said that I believe Jim's girlfriend had told the manager to go there, and I think him and Pamela were the only ones that saw the body. So that they said that, like you said, it was a gold casket. They put him in the ground.
And that was it. Yeah, and the thing about it was that, whatever really happened, Pamela, his girlfriend, took that to the grave because she died 3 years later of a heroin overdose. Yeah,
heroin overdose.
Yeah, which is a trip, man. Like this is just, it's just, it is what it is, But it continues, My kids, going into a different thing here. Do you want to add anything else before we get into it?
Go ahead.
My kids have gotten into the Doors. And they know who they are. Of course, they've heard the music and watched the movie and stuff like that, right? So, actually, 3 out of the 4 that I have were really into it. So, not really into it, but got to know who it was, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, with that, leading up to that, fast forward up to, what year was it?
This was during COVID time.
During COVID, huh?
Yeah, I think it was 2020.
No, I want to say 2019. Right, because it was right before COVID.
Going into 2020.
Right before the whole COVID hit. I was at work listening to AM 1080, and I was like, I was in a vehicle, and I was listening to the radio, and then all of a sudden I hear them say, hey, you know what? John Densmore, drummer of the Doors, is going to be coming to Santa Cruz for Streetlight Records, and I was like, what the heck, like. Oh, on this day, whatever. I'm like, right away, I called up Eddie, right? I told him, hey, bro, like, hey, dude, John Denver's coming. So, well, fast forward to cut to that chase. I don't know, what do you remember about that? And then
what I remember is that we were short on cash.
Oh, yeah, we were.
I was waiting for my unemployment because I had just got laid off.
Yeah.
And I was working in Greenfield at a warehouse. And I remember we were short on cash. We were low on gas. It was just like, you know what? We're going. Like,
we went.
We'll figure out a way. Like, let's just get there and get back, and just the adventures. I tell you, man, the adventures, and like you said, he was listening to AM 1080, and same thing with Ray Manzarek, the same random, just random, and of course, it was 2019 going to 2020, so they didn't confirm it was COVID, but there was a sickness going around.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of cautious, like, and so we win, and of course he had his book out, and
we bought the book. We had to buy the book.
You had to buy the book, and
that was your ticket. That was your ticket. And you had to buy the book.
And of course, you had to buy the book and take a picture and autograph or whatever that anyone had. And of course, it wasn't the time. Well, it was different in 2004 when we met Ray Manzarek.
Yeah.
So you figure 2004 going into 2019, 2020 in a sense, years later, but we're bringing our kids.
Yeah.
The same way he brought me to meet Ray Manzarek at 14, 15 years old. Then I'm taking my kids, he's taking his kids to see another member years later. Mm-hmm. So that, the generation and the tradition continues. And we met him, and, just skinny, scrawny little guy. Just
dude, he was a little shorter. I'm not a tall dude, he was a little shorter than me, and I was like, wow, this guy, And I remember, the way I remember that it was before COVID. Not to cut into that, I remember he wouldn't shake our hand. He would just fist pump. Fist pump. Like, hey, cool. Just kind of, And then, but it was a trip, man. He was real humble too, mm-hmm. right? He was just like super cool. Like, hey, man, like, he was cool. And I remember, was it you or me that showed him the picture of Ray?
Yeah.
The picture of us with Ray Manzarek, and he just goes, "Oh, Ray." He just like, "Oh, Ray."
And what's so crazy about it is that during that time in 2004,
when we met Ray,
when we met Ray in Santa Cruz at the Rio Theater, him, John Densmore, and the guitarist Robbie Krieger were going through a lawsuit in court for the rights of the Doors.
We later found that out.
We found out later.
We didn't know.
So that book that we had purchased was about that in 2004 when we met Ray at that time.
Yeah.
So it was so trippy that when he showed him the picture of Ray, he was like, "Oh, Ray." Yeah. Like I think it was still going on, or of course, Ray had passed.
No, Ray had already passed.
He had already passed. So we don't know if there was any, animosity or they discussed their issues, but it's crazy how in that time it was just like,
they were going at each other's throats.
They were going at it for the rights of for the band to use music in commercials and all that. And it's crazy how years later that book came out when the time that we had met Ray. So it was just crazy. And after we had met them, we took our pictures and we were on the road heading back home, and and we were sitting in this vehicle, and I'm like,
we were playing the Doors.
We were playing the Doors
on the way back.
And I looked at him, I said, like, did this just happen?
Yeah.
And the kids, they were a lot smaller, so they didn't really fully understand. But for me to be like at my age, it was just like,
wow. It was surreal.
It was surreal. Like
it hit us.
I'm not gonna lie, but I got emotional because it was like he took me to see Ray Manzarek at 14 years old, and I'm in my 30s. I'm not gonna say his age, but but to be able to go back again and me as an adult, like, how sweeter is that? How sweet can it be to be like, man, like, and then have my kids listen to the music now, and of course they're in movies now, and they're in certain movies, so they play their songs, and to be like
Apocalypse Now,
and Minions, they play Break On Through, and that's how my son started to know the Doors, because of that song. And when I showed him the albums, he was like, "Oh, that's the Doors," and it means so much to me, and I know it means so much to him, because of course that band was in '67, know.
And you know what, guys, we'll play, not to cut you off, at the end of this podcast, we will put the pictures up at the end. I know you see them at the beginning, but there's a little bit more, but now you'll get to fully understand that the pictures that you see is one thing, but the story behind it is a whole different experience. You know, those are memories that we're gonna have. This is why it's important. Like I told him earlier, this is stuff that we're gonna have on here that's gonna be for not just for people out here in the video world and social media, be it YouTube, be it Rumble and whatnot. But it's also for our families to look back and be like, you know what? Hey, this is the actual details that happened. This is the stories behind the pictures.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like boom and then get out. We actually interacted with them and talked to them and stuff, which was awesome, man. It was awesome. It was like, go ahead.
And it's crazy that, at that time, like I said, during, before it was officially COVID, like, it was just like you said, the spur of the moment. He was listening to AM 1080. And again, we go years later and to be able to cherish it. And
in the same city, different location.
Different location. And Streetlight Records is very famous because a lot of musicians go out there and like I said, like 2004 going to 2019 to 20, like, and of course, Robbie Krieger, of course,
that's still on our bucket list.
That's on our bucket list. Yeah.
Hopefully we get to, at some point.
He does performances still at the Whiskey.
Yeah.
And he was there this last January, and I was like, but I can't go without him. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're gonna have to make it a mission, and I mean, we'll go knock at his door, dude. Be like, hey, bro, like, look, time's running out. We gotta take a picture, bro.
And see,
I'm kidding.
and that's the thing. Like, it's just, I mean, to some people, I like the band or I like the music, but to be able to know the history and to know their life story and their backgrounds and be able to meet them and be like, I understand why the things they did. And not to go too much, but they're the only band in rock and roll history to ever be kicked out of a concert.
Yeah.
A concert. Not the Rolling Stones, not the Beatles. The Doors was the first band ever to be kicked out at a live concert by the police.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the only...
Was it New Haven?
Yeah, New Haven.
Yeah,
New Haven. Yeah, he was going off. I guess a police officer pepper sprayed him. I guess he thought he was a groupie or whatever, but he was the lead singer, and he went off, and they threw him out of the stage. And the first band, and no one has ever done that since then. So, it's good to know, and that's why I was very, very surprised and excited to be able to still listen to this day, and I still listen to them, and and then every day you learn something new, man.
Yeah. You know what the trip I was going to mention that you could probably mention real quick. I remember having a picture of Rayman's Eric, which is, like I said, we had an actual photo. This is before, the digital, with the phone now and stuff like that. But I remember he had it. He got a lot of slack for that in school for that.
Oh yeah, especially in Main Street. Of course, here in Soledad, in high school too. Of course now they're older, and they. Of course, we had a lot of matured, but a lot of them, they were listening to, the Ramones, Misfits, Metallica, and all that, and those are great bands. But with the Doors, being that I was the youngest, at that moment when I met Ray, a lot of people were, giving me a hard time, like, oh, you're not a rocker, you're not this, you're not that. But it's like, me being who I am, and it wasn't so much as just I'm gonna wear this or I'm gonna be that. I'm still the same person, but the music is what speaks to you. And like I said, I got a lot of grief for that because it's whatever. But it was just a moment in time where it was just like, man, like,
and it's a passion. First.
Yeah, and it's a passion.
It's a passion first. It's like I always tell my kids too, like, because at home, like, due to the people that we've met or that I've met, as well, at home I'm just dad, But I tell the kids, sometimes, who can really go to school and say, hey, my dad met this person or I met this person, to maybe the people in their age, they won't understand. To the older people, they will really understand that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all really what it is, guys. That's You want to add anything before we close this out?
No, it's pretty much
it. Yeah, man. So you know what? So yeah, we met 2 out of the 4 Doors. From Jim Morrison. Obviously, he passed before our time. The only one remaining now that we wish to get to meet would be Robbie Krieger. But we got to meet Ray Manzarek. God rest his soul. He ended up passing away. I don't remember what year.
2016? No.
Was it?
2016, 2017? Cancer?
Somewhere, yeah.
I think it was colon cancer or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say something. Of course, no one knows who Ed Sullivan is. The Ed Sullivan Show back in the 60s in New York City. Just want to say this. The Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Animals. I don't think Pink Floyd performed there, but certain lyrics that you couldn't say on national television, they had to change their lyrics. And of course, in Light My Fire, Robbie Krieger is the one that wrote the song.
Yeah.
But the Doors was the first band to join their publishings. Mm-hmm. So they, even though Robbie Krieger wrote Light My Fire, but they all took credit as the Doors, as one group. So I guess they were at the Ed Sullivan Show, and there's a line that says, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher." And being that they're from New York, certain lyrics are not allowed
at the time.
Being that they're from Los Angeles and the hippie area, and they're more, suit and tie kind of thing, The Rolling Stones had to change their lyrics. The Beatles had to change their lyrics. The Animals had to change their lyrics. So they told them, can we change it to "Girl, we couldn't get much better"? So they were like, okay. The first few lines, he said it exactly the way it was written. And that's the number one thing that spoke to me. It's like, they're not going to change their ways because someone else or the television. It's they are who they are. They write it and they speak it the way they're supposed to. And Jim said it, I'm not going to change nothing. And they said, I guess the producer said, you'll never work or perform for Ed Sullivan again. Yeah. And I guess Jim Morrison had said, well, I performed here, so that's more than enough for me. In my own words. Basically saying, I did it.
So what? So it's already done.
So that's the thing, is stay true to yourself. And that's exactly what they did for the short period of time that Jim was alive. And the way they did stuff was in their own terms. So the Doors, all for one and one for all.
Yeah.
The Musketeers.
Definitely. Yeah. So with that, guys, we'll close this one out. This is Fred Segura and Eddie Vega at Two Face Entertainment Podcast. Did I do that backwards again? This is Two Face Entertainment Podcast.
I am your host.
This is Fred Segura. I'm your host, Fred Segura. And Eddie Vega, hey, we're signing out.